Welcome to the Experience Gap, the insight shop to the rescue, where we turn customer nightmares into teachable moments for businesses. Each week, we bring you real stories of service breakdowns, highlight the moments that matter, and equip businesses with strategies to delight their customers. I'm Kate Complin, the owner of the Insight Shop. I created this podcast to give customers a voice, to share their stories and frustrations, in hopes that companies would take notice, listen, and take action, as customers are your most important assets. Today, I'm joined by Wendy Albers, who has more than 3 decades of experience in the financial services industry. She currently serves as Senior VP of Member Experience at Generations Federal Credit Union, where she is focused on delivering financial stability for all generations of their members and the communities they serve. Wendy, it's great to have you on my podcast.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. Now, before you share your poor experience with the audience, share some attributes that make experiences great.
Yeah, there's so many I could think of. For me, throughout my banking career, it really has been about the relationship with our customers and members. So first, trying to know them, even if it's only in that small snippet of a moment you get with a transaction, just connecting with them. So that connection is number one. And then just showing care, like radical care and concern for doing what's right for them. And again, that can be something very simple, like making sure that you follow all the policies if you're processing a transaction and that you explain things thoroughly and give them the why of how you do things. Or it could be following up and making sure that you show care throughout an entire process of a lengthier engagement. If I had to sum that up, for me, the two most important things are connecting, really knowing your client or member in our case, and then showing that radical care for doing a good job and taking care of them.
Thank you so much for that perspective. And now, on the flip side, tell the audience about your recent experience coordinating care for your elderly mother and how it has become your second unpaid job. What fell short? What happened? And how did that
Yeah.
impact you?
Boy, it's tough. And for a little bit of context, my mother is in her late 70s now. This started about 10 years ago, where when she suddenly had onset of dementia and some other health issues, just this perfect storm of events that required that she need a lot more care than she ever had before, and very little financial resources to make that happen. So going through processes to try to coordinate financial assistance and care, and then identifying the doctors and facilities that would accept her specific type of insurance coverage and so forth, quickly became almost a full-time job there initially. What I noticed over time after that was how little people seemed to care about whether or not her needs were being met. And it was across the board. It was at doctors' offices, it was at the facilities. She was in rehab centers and later assisted living and now long-term care. But while you have some standout people that really do care and do a phenomenal job of taking care of their clients or patients, all too often things just didn't go well. That people wouldn't follow up on things. They wouldn't provide information that you needed. They would say they're going to call you back in a day or two. You'd never get a phone call. And so it quickly turned into this part-time job of me having to spend tons of my free time, and sometimes not free time, oftentimes having to take time from work to follow up and schedule appointments and check on insurance and fight insurance companies and fight Medicaid and all of these things. And simply because people just would not follow up on what they were supposed to do. It's been really frustrating to go through that. Though things have settled down somewhat for her, it's still, anytime she needs something, it is a lot of follow-up on my part to try to make sure things are handled appropriately.
When you think about that story of coordinating care for your mom and all the like hours that you've had to spend, what moments in that journey really matter to you to go right?
Yeah. And again, not that I expect anybody that we encounter in that process to be our best friends. Sometimes even just being acknowledged as a human being and getting some empathy and concern from the person you're dealing with. All too often, it was very cold and rote and matter of fact. There just seemed to be very little care coming from the other side. So that would have been number one. If you are providing service to another person, these folks that were providing service to us, regardless of my mom's financial circumstance or whatever the case may be, for them to just stop and remember that they were dealing with a human being. So that would be number one. And maybe think about if that were their mother, how would they want that situation to be handled? So that's a number one from the get-go, as we say down south, a moment that matters. And then the other is very simple. Just do your job, follow up, keep your word. If you say you're going to do something, make sure that you do it. And if you're not going to do it, update us and tell us why or what we can expect. So those would have been two crucial moments that matter that could have helped us a lot through our journey to get her where she is today.
Yeah. What's interesting to me is, that first point about showing care, showing empathy, acknowledging that we're humans, right? It's called health care. So you would
Exactly.
imagine that if something is called health care, they would be caring for you as a person in your health. So that was really interesting. And then when you think about this experience with coordinating care for your mom, I know one of the things you mentioned is, you're taking a lot of your personal time, even work time, to do activities that you probably shouldn't be having to do in the first place. What else are some really big pain points or frustrations you would say you've experienced with coordinating care for your mom?
For her specifically, it's the fact that she does not fit the mold of an average middle class American financially. So navigating state and federally funded programs to try to find help for her is pretty difficult. You're often talking to, or I would often talk to, different people that worked for the same department. For example, Texas Health Services. I'm not sure I'm not saying that right, but if I talked to three different people in three different areas of that entity, I would get three different pieces of direction and they would conflict with each other. And I then would have to do the legwork to try to sort through all that and figure out what really is the truth here. What do I need to be following up on and what can I expect? And one situation there was just nightmarish. We ended up losing her coverage for a number of months and I had to appeal to the state of Texas to get it reinstated, which it never should have been canceled, but that would take a much longer time to tell that story. But I'm just determined enough and stubborn enough that I did it, and I did it by myself, and I won against the state of Texas. Yeah, but it was bureaucracy at its very worst. And
Right. Thank you so much for sharing your story. And as a care coordinator, just for the audience and for these businesses to understand that you have to let your patient and care coordinator understand the resources, give clear directions, do their job, show empathy, follow up. A person should never be in a situation where they lose coverage. So the fact that, your mom's lucky to have you, that you fought for her and won. So really great story. And I thank you for sharing that. Now I'll leave you with this. According to PubMed Central, approximately 42% of older adults report poor care coordination, and only a third have ever met with a formal care coordinator. And caregivers like Wendy often face difficulties navigating the healthcare system, and a substantial percentage report needing more support in providing care. But according to NIH, many caregivers feel they lack the necessary support to effectively manage their loved one's care, with younger, Hispanic, those in certain geographic locations reporting more significant challenges. Like we as general people that don't work in healthcare, very hard for us to know what's what we should do, what resources we have. It shouldn't be a puzzle for us. That should be clearly laid out. And finally, according to CMS, effective care coordination can potentially reduce unnecessary tests, hospitalizations, emergency room visits. So hospitals and healthcare systems not having proper care coordination, it not only costs the hospitals a lot of money and healthcare a lot of money, but it also costs us consumers a lot of money and potentially worsening health conditions or even worse. So thank you, Wendy, for sharing your story about your experience coordinating care for your mother. And thanks to our listeners for tuning into the Experience Gap, the Insight Shop to the rescue, helping businesses turn frustration into delight, one experience at a time.